China's one-child policy. The one-child policy can be best understood if one starts from the roots of China and understands all that followed before the implementation of this policy. In 1950, Chairman Mao Zedong, who was the founder of the People's Republic of China, introduced China's Leap Forward campaign. He encouraged parents to have more kids because there was a need for a larger workforce. China was growing into an industrialized nation, and the demand for factory workers was significantly high. Therefore, the officials and big businessmen encouraged couples to have more babies so that the big businessmen would have a larger workforce. Unfortunately, because of overpopulation, there was a point where it was too expensive for China to offer basic education and needs to its youth population. Along with that arose suspicion of not enough land to house China's population. So, in 1979, Deng Xiaoping introduced the one-child policy. This policy was put in effect to control overpopulation, but over time China saw much more to it than just control of population and has kept it in effect until this day. The one-child policy allows China to offer kids a better education, a better healthcare system, and various other benefits. A few of the impacts of this policy include a decrease in birth rate and a gender split. A few positive outcomes have been a higher GDP per capita for China, allowing for China's economy to boom. In order to dissect the one-child policy, one must approach it as a metaphorical onion. As he or she peels back the layers, they will obtain a better understanding of each point. Throughout the process, many social ethical questions may arise and a reader may need to go the extra mile in order to understand why something is the way it is. At the core of understanding China's one-child policy is housed the idea of how humans really are treated after the implementation of this policy. Officials have formed a policy which is used as a remote control. This remote control sends signals to the couples on how it wants them to behave and what it wants them to do, much like how a robot is told what to do by its owner. The children are treated as assets in a similar way an investor treats his investments. They are the medium through which wealth and power are attained by the government of China. This wealth and power come at the expense of ruining the children's lives. Speaking about all the one-child policy has to offer, one must also view the positive outcomes. It allows China to now offer its youth a better educational system and a better healthcare system. The one-child policy has enabled China to increase its GDP per capita and be ranked higher amongst other nations. This has caught the attention of investors and big businesses all around the world looking to invest money into China. The one-child policy has encouraged foreign direct investment. It has also allowed for more jobs to be created because more and more companies are opening manufacturing plants within China. But one can also see that the new factories opening in the country only seem as if they are helping the public by creating jobs. Yes, they are creating jobs, but jobs where working conditions are horrendous and it is impossible to survive with the pay that the workers are offered. Then a question may arise. Is China forgetting about the majority of people who make up this population? The middle and lower classes. It does seem that the upper class is only using the lower and middle classes to achieve their goals of greater reputation and more profits, while leaving the quote-unquote average Joe in the dark. When we peel back another layer, we see that one problem is present, but that one problem is also encouraging yet another problem. Through the one-child policy, the couple are only allowed to have one child in all urban areas and mostly all rural areas. In urban areas, the enforcement of this law is so strict that if officials find out you have more than one child, agents will be sent to your house, and they will forcefully enter and kill all children besides the firstborn. On the other hand, because it is traditional to have more than one child in rural areas, officials do not strictly enforce this rule, but if they do come across a family with more than one child, they will take action. Also, it is hard to track families in rural areas, because the spread out of land is so great that it makes it easier for a couple to hide their children. Besides the killing, an issue of males favored over females has arisen. The average cost for raising a single child in Beijing, China, is anywhere from 500,000 to 1.3 million yen, which converts to $80,316, up to $208,821.60. But keep in mind, the average pay in China for 2012 was 28,752 yen, approximately $4,755. Couples are finding males as a smarter investment over women because a male will offer them financial security. He will most likely get the job over the female, which means a quicker source of income. Males are dominant in society, and lastly, the parents can stay with the son when they are older and retire. Whereas with a daughter, the parents may have to offer a dowry to marry her off. They will have to pay for her schooling and other expenses, which to them is the equivalent of throwing money away. Due to this, parents with two children, for example a boy and a girl, who were caught, will urge officials to kill the female over the male, even if the female was the firstborn. and because of that, there's a discrepancy of 60 million more males in China than females. Children are influenced by what they see early on in their lives. In China, children may witness the gruesome killing of their siblings early on in their lives. They may witness their parents urging for the girl to be killed over the boy. Now, just like their parents, they desire a baby boy because they understand how it is more beneficial and cost-friendly. As much as they would want to break out of this trap, there is no way out because this rule is enforced by the head officials of China. As they get older, they see men are superior to women. They see the Chinese government pockets all the money, leaving them trapped in their social class with hardly any way to progress up onto the next rung of this ladder. And because of all this, a question may arise. Does my country really care for me, or is it just filled with selfish people looking to gain power and wealth at the disposal of all? A child is influenced early on in his or her lifetime, and then that way of thinking carries on for their whole life, impacting every decision he or she makes. Eventually, this way of thinking is passed on from generation to generation. This passing on never allows for the children to be freed from this degenerative cycle of hopelessness. Is there a better way to achieve China's goals without great bloodshed? China has tried sterilization and abortions in the past, but now, China can enforce such a rule where after the first child is born, a mother must be sterilized within the hospital before being sent home. This way, another child cannot be made. Now, in the case there are twins or a family has two children without going to the hospital to give birth, then if officials find out, they may come up with a program where they select families to adopt a child, and doctors would then sterilize the woman who has been granted that child. This would still raise many ethical questions and many arguments, but there would be less bloodshed. Yes, some women may not be able to have children, but unless officials change their policy, which is in effect, it is very hard to create a solution to this problem, which keeps everybody content and ensures peace amongst couples in China. Also, as of right now, Zhang Weiqing, the Minister of the State Commission of Population and Family Planning in China, has stated that the one-child policy will continue in China's foreseeable future because, according to Chinese officials, it is the most suitable course of action for keeping China's population under control. Therefore, in the current time and age, this plan is more viable than the killing of innocent kids who did not have a say in the making. What would be more favored? A few unhappy couples versus a few murdered babies?